All right, let's look at the spring game, Steve. I guess one thing that was confirmed here is that while Ohio State is looking for the quarterback, all three of them are pretty darn good.
Yeah, no question about it. We knew obviously about Dwayne Haskins from last year. He was the star, or the guy who came in and helped save the game that they played at Michigan. Came in and played so well in relief of J.T. Barrett when he was injured in that game. Joe Burrow was the backup the year before, but then he suffered, obviously, the broken hand last year in preseason camp. And, of course, Tate Martell's a redshirt freshman. I had a friend that joked that had the rules been a little bit different and it was actual tackle football, he may have rushed for 150 or 200 yards in that game on Saturday because he was getting loose around the edge the entire game. So he's got obviously some playmaking ability that is very rare for a player at the quarterback position. And I wonder if he's got some wildcat quarterback sets that are going to be in his future this year. I think Joe Burrow has got an interesting decision. Statistically, he was the best of the three on this past Saturday. I believe he was like 15 of 22 for 239 yards, 2 touchdowns, no interceptions. Dwayne Haskins was 9 of 19 passing for 120 yards and 2 touchdowns. Tate Martell, his best numbers were rushing. He did not complete a lot of passes. I think he was something like 5 of 14 for the day. So it was kind of a rough day for him throwing the football. And he did have an interception. Sean Wade, a redshirt freshman cornerback, made a sliding interception of one of his passes, but seems like it is a wide open competition. I don't know that we saw enough to say that this is Joe Burrow's job. For the coaches, this was just one day out of 15 in spring football. And honestly, as Coach Meyer has said repeatedly, they have tracked everything these quarterbacks have done all the way back to when they started the winter semester mid-January in terms of off the field, weight room, everything that they could be charted on academics and meeting their responsibilities as much as anything. They've tracked it all, going all the way back to after the bowl win over USC. And so they've got their own scorecard, I think, for the fans, this and for the media, honestly, because this is about all we really have seen was what they did on Saturday. You have to say Burrow's got the upper hand right now in terms of 2018. Burrow's got an interesting decision, though, because he potentially could be a graduate transfer when he graduates in May from Ohio State with a bachelor's degree in 3 years. He will have graduated because obviously these guys are at Ohio State year-round, and he's taken full advantage of it with summer classes, and they have a truncated May semester as well that they can pile up a few hours. So he has done very well for himself in that regard and is about to graduate. And that opens his options. I mean, he could pursue a graduate transfer elsewhere if he feels like he's not going to be the number one guy to start the season. I think both guys, if you looked at it and didn't care who won or were dispassionate about it, you would say that both guys are good enough to play and win games for Ohio State. And you just wonder what Coach Meyer and also the offensive coordinator Kevin Wilson, the quarterback's coach Ryan Day, what they're all going to think about this. Potentially you could use them both to open the season and maybe commit to say at this point, barring something changing, that you would both play. It's interesting, Mark. They opened the season with Oregon State, which was 1-11 last year. They have a new coach who's coming in from Washington. He was the offensive coordinator there, and he was the quarterback for Oregon State back, probably 15 years ago, 18 years ago, when they were a pretty good team there. They beat Notre Dame in one of the big bowl games. He is coming back to his alma mater to try and get Oregon State up and running. But to me, that's a game Ohio State playing at home should be able to win. Rutgers in week 2, also at home. That's a team Ohio State has outscored something like 200-6 in the 4 Big Ten games that they've played. So you got 2 ramp-up games, even though you're not playing a mid-major or a low major until later on. You do have 2 ramp-up games before you go down to Dallas in week 3 and play TCU at the Cowboys Stadium. And so perhaps they just commit to these guys that you're both going to play a like number of snaps in those first two games, all things being equal, if everything checks out in preseason camp. And then whoever the best man is will play the lion's share of the game against TCU. But, that's one way to look at it. You can't make promises to guys about what's going to happen for 6 months from now, because there's so much that can happen between now and then. So, I guess you have to take a wait and see approach. And if Burrow does decide to stick around, and as he said on Saturday, he's invested so much into his situation at Ohio State, it would be hard to cut and run right now. Mark, one thing I think about is he's got 2 years of eligibility left. As I kind of coined the phrase, why don't you split the difference, stay at Ohio State for one more year and tough that out and see if this is going to be your opportunity at Ohio State. And if not, you still have 1 year. You could go somewhere, anywhere in the country and go play a year from now. So it's going to be an interesting dynamic. I think I don't know that Burrow, probably in the coach's mind, did enough just on that one day to say it's his job. But certainly you gotta feel that where you thought going into the spring that it was Haskins' job to lose, that it is anybody's job at this point.
Well, if Burrow goes with your approach, Steve, then of course, let's say the competition is as close as it remains and appears to be right now. And of course, Dwayne Haskins appeared to be the leader because of what he did against Michigan in real time against a big opponent on the road. But that's kind of been emphasized by the coaches and Urban Meyer in particular that, yeah, we take that into account. But hey, it's an open competition, and we're looking day to day at what these guys are doing in front of us right now. And the plan you set in front of Burrow seems to make sense in that he's that close to winning the job. Even if he doesn't win the job, if Haskins, let's say he wins the job, falters, obviously Burrow, there's going to be a relatively short leash, knowing that, I would think, relatively short leash, because they know what they have behind him, that they know that the competition was that close. And number two, there's always the injury factor, and we've seen that in the past, play in the favor of the backup and the third string quarterback at Ohio State. I also think it's interesting what you bring up in regards to the game plan overall for Urban Meyer, Ryan Day, and the coaching staff in terms of what is expected to be a difficult week 3, but 2 fairly easy games leading into that, but still against big opponents with capable talent, but you should still win those games by 4 touchdowns. So maybe you go with your plan and you see, hey, with the live ammo coming at you, what does it look like the first 2 weeks? And let's go with the best guy after that, all things being equal going into September 1st.